Hey everybody, welcome back. This is episode 9 of Gillian's Prep Files. So we are 13 days out from the show, and today is the last video for like all 3 or 4 of you who have been watching this whole series. But this is the last video before the show. So the next time you see us, it's going to be after the show, and we'll have all sorts of wrap-up thoughts. But what we thought we'd do today is just kind of go over the previous 22 weeks and a day and see how things have gone from Jillian's perspective. I may even chime in and talk about what it's like to go through as a partner. Please forgive me. I may be coughing a little bit. I'm just a little bit under the weather still. I have a cup of water here that I will be taking from liberally, but hopefully it's not that much of a distraction. But to business. So you're 22 weeks and a day into this prep.
Yes.
How do you think it's gone?
I think it's gone incredibly well. It has actually been the longest prep that I have ever done to date. So this will be a 24-week process, and if I'm right, that's 6 months, right?
That's ballpark, yeah.
You're the math guy.
Yeah, not in public though.
And I want to say the longest prep I ever did going into a season prior to this was 16 weeks. Sometimes the season extended beyond a single show. So in total, I prepped for longer, but this was the longest prep I have ever done. And since I started competing to now, clearly was the longest layoff. So I have not been on stage prior to this. This will be 7.5 years since the last time that I was on stage. And I am 47 and change entering this show, not quite 47 and a half. And the last time I took the stage in bodybuilding was just shy of my 40th birthday.
Okay.
So the prep was a lot longer than it has ever been before. But it was very different than any other prep that I've ever had. So on this prep, with it being such a long duration of time, my calories remained much, much higher. So I am 13 days out, and my low days are still at around 2,200 calories, with high days being around 2,700. And I have never done a prep ever before that at the end of the prep, I was not, say, 1,200 calories for the day or less.
And you're not eating tilapia and cucumbers either.
I am not. I'm not going to say that fish doesn't appear and then cucumbers do not.
But it's the fish that we like, and it's not so often that we're tired of it.
Yes. So this prep has been done entirely on macros and allowing me to find the foods that work for my body within those macros, where I get to choose the variability, as opposed to it being a precision meal plan where I am recommended the exact foods. So there's a little bit more work on my end getting to know myself and what foods my body really likes, but it allows me greater variability. I have eaten more. Overall, my energy levels are higher than they have ever been before. I'm not going to say that I'm not struggling. I'm not going to say that I am not suffering.
Yeah, but for anybody who's watching you on Instagram, they just watched you do 32 dead hang chins.
Yeah. So my performance
the other day
is very high on this prep. And the other thing that I couldn't sacrifice going into this experience was my professional life. So before in the years that I was competing, I was a professional athlete, and when I owned and ran my gym, I had help in that.
Right.
So during the very tough times of prep, I was able to step away from my professional responsibilities, and essentially I had other people step in.
Right.
So this time, one of the things that I wanted to maintain during my prep and had no choice, I run my own business. I'm entirely on my own. Nobody works for me at this point. So I
Just
needed, how true that is. So I needed to be able to keep that up during this prep, which was different. So the other thing is, in previous years, I was able to look at a prep and see my business suffering during those months. I could actually look on paper and see client satisfaction, my income, other things go down as the weeks of prep wore on.
How's this one been?
Entirely different. So business has actually picked up during the prep. I've been more productive. I believe that I am still doing a good job by my clients, although they will certainly let me know. And that was something that we had to establish going into this prep. Because honestly, I never thought that I was going to get back out there.
Right. And that was a very long series of conversations that we had together, because we both knew that this is this is not a relationship where one person can go on a crusade and the other person just deals with it. You know, everything we do together. I've been along with her every step
Yeah.
of the way, not necessarily on the same calories. I'm generally on the same workout schedule, but not doing the exact same sets and rep schemes. But it has been a journey that we've taken together, and we'll get
Yeah.
into some of the pros and cons of that.
So I want to come back to what kind of opened my mind to competing again. So several months before I started the prep, I did an interview for Amazon's fitness magazine with Glenn Young, and he asked me if I was going to return to bodybuilding. And at the time, I thought my answer was no.
It was a categorical no.
Yes. And the reason why is previously, bodybuilding and competing in bodybuilding has been at the expense of everything else in my life.
Right.
So I did not know that I could pursue this big dream and be happy in my personal life. So before we were together, you know, it was about choosing, and I chose to chase my dreams in athletics, and I sacrificed a lot in my personal life. And I did not believe that I could have both, that I could cultivate both. It was almost like if I was going to chase these big dreams and be a competitor and be a world champion, then everything in life was going to be a mess.
Because you can't have it all.
Right.
But
so
how about this prep?
when I walked away at just prior to 40 from competition to address some struggles and issues in my personal life and prioritize those things, I did not know that I would return to competing. I never said I am retired, but I did not know that I would return to that. So, you know, having that conversation with Glenn kind of got me thinking, and I'm like, maybe I can do this,
Right.
and maybe I can do this from a loving, supportive place, and maybe it will actually be better. But my priorities in this prep, I did not go into this show saying, I want to come in first place. I want to win. I'm going to do this because I want an Olympia qualification. I went into this asking myself the question, can I pursue this lofty dream that I have and still be great in my personal life, great in my professional life, be healthy physically, be healthy mentally, and let those things guide the process, which meant the process could not be as extreme. So I was not going to start a prep that I knew I was going to eat 1,200 calories a day, or that I knew, you know, I was going to feel a certain way for a period of time, because throughout the entire process, what needed to prevail were the things that were more important to me, which was our marriage, my relationship with my loved ones in my life, you know, my responsibility to my clients, my professional aspirations.
And your relationship with food.
My relationship with food, my relationship with my body and stuff, like my feelings that I have about body image, body composition, like all of that came first in this. And it kind of kept me from going extreme. I have done other preps before where I have said to a coach, if you tell me to eat dog poo, that's what I'm going to do. And when I looked for a coach, I did not go into it that way. I went into it saying, I want to be healthy of mind, of body. I want to be healthy in my head. You know, I want to be emotionally healthy. I want to be physically healthy. When I get on stage, I don't want to be broken in my body, and I don't want to be broken in my mind.
So let's talk about some of the pros and cons, and really the differences between you and me over the last 22 weeks and a day. Not that anyone's counting. So you have a culminating moment at the end of this.
I do.
And that has sort of been your North Star throughout this entire process. How do you feel 22 out of 24 weeks into this? Are you energized? Are you tired? Like, tell me how you feel, especially as we're after our big workout this morning and our dog walk.
I'm definitely energized. I can see the finish line now. I am very pleased with how my body has responded. There are tough times in the day. If you asked me at 4 o'clock this afternoon how I feel, you know, it's late morning right now, you may get a different answer. I would say my toughest weeks, I'm starting to come out of, at least for me, my toughest weeks, because I feel like I am kind of where I want to be.
Yeah, and the finish line is in sight.
The finish line is in sight. But I would say the toughest weeks for me were probably the last month. And as I said, I could equate that. My calories have never dipped really low, but I could equate that to my body composition. And for me, I'm sitting at roughly right around 130 pounds right now. I started my prep, for those of you that remember, back at around 148. I peaked up a little bit after our indulgent cruise that was at the very, very beginning of the commitment.
It was glorious.
It was. So I started around 148. I'm at 130 right now. But the real symptoms that I started experiencing of not feeling that well, mind, body, happened to me like about below 135 pounds, or
Right.
where that correlates in terms of body composition, primarily, as we've discussed in weeks previously, being a high-level anxiety and insomnia,
Right.
which are somewhat interconnected.
Right. But before you ask me how I feel 22 weeks in, because she's going to, how do you feel about, you're going to get on the stage in
Yes.
13 days. How
Yep.
do you feel going into that?
Honestly, I feel great because I have done everything that I have set out to do. And regardless of the placing, I don't know if I am going to go out there and win. I don't know if I'm going to go out there and be dead last. But I have made this experience so much about the journey
Right.
and the joy in the moments and my commitment to share what it's all about, that going on stage is just a culminating
Right.
moment and a demonstration for me. And we know that I love to be on stage.
She does love
and-
the stage.
and to perform, but my satisfaction is irrelevant to that result because I get to see the result every day.
Would you go on stage today?
I would go on stage today. I mean,
Yeah.
I will be in a little bit better condition with another 13 days from now, but I would go on stage today and I would be very proud of it.
Yeah. All right, now ask me.
So 22 weeks into this, how are you feeling?
I am so ready for this to be over. You have no idea how ready I am for this to be over. So I am tired. So I do not have the culminating moment that
Mhm.
Gillian does at the end of this. So where she has something to run towards, I am limping into the finish. I'm physically tired. I am mentally tired. When she talked about her calories, yes, her calories are 2,200 roughly on a normal day, but she has not had an unplanned bite of food for almost 6 months. Now, I have had, there have been some work lunches that I've
lunches.
gone to, and there have been just, maybe a few more calories and maybe a couple of more not even treat meals, but just treats along the way. But I'm not getting on stage in a sparkly bikini like somebody. So our consequences are a little bit different. But for almost 6 months, we have been doing 5-day training splits, which means we are working out 5 times a week.
Lifting 5 times a week. We're exercising 7 days a week.
Okay, so we're training in the gym 5 days a week at approximately an hour. Sometimes it's more than an hour each single time. And then we've been recently doing walks, which are anywhere from 1.5 miles to 2 miles plus twice a day. So we have really ramped up our physical activity. And we both recognize that there needs to be a reset after this competition. And it's just, for me, it's to get that want to back. Because right now it feels like a have to. And I want to support Gillian. And that means that's why I'm enduring the what I would consider my physical hardship. I want to be there with her. I want to help her with her accountability. I want to represent Team Conway as best that we can. But it's been a long 22 weeks. Worth it, but very long.
22 weeks of a relentless pursuit. We're going to get up and do it every day, whether we want to or not. It means, not eating sometimes when you are hungry. It means sometimes eating when you're not hungry.
Yep.
It means that there's never hitting a snooze button.
It means that alarm clock is going off at 4 o'clock in the morning.
It means never like, I don't feel like doing this today.
Right.
And I think, right now, the difference in terms of, for me, I am driven, the finish line is there, so that extra oomph is there, because the consequences, like we said,
right,
are extremely high. Like if I'm thinking about bagging out on a set or something else, I picture myself when I am up on that stage, am I going to think back and say, you know what? I could have had more that
Right.
day. And I am driven by that. I mean, for you, that culminating moment is not going to be there. And what we're really seeing is a difference in recovery ability. So prior to going down to starting contest preparation, we trained more athletically. You know, we had some CrossFit style stuff, we had some powerlifting, general strength, and we would do what we wanted. If we
Right.
went through a phase, you know, if we did an 8-week strength cycle and then decided, you know, we want to do like serious hiking for the next several weeks.
Right. We had the full menu of
Right.
physical activity at our disposal.
And this is 6 dedicated months of lifting 5 times a week, which
Focus
you
training.
have never done before. And the other thing we're running into is previous to this, for the last more than half decade, our training that we arrived on together was a balance of my wheelhouse and my strengths, you know, being obviously body weight, gymnastics, calisthenics.
Use some
Olympic lifts,
sciencey
power
terms.
lifts, sciencey terms, but kind of
You're,
in
you're-
anaerobic glycolytic
There we go.
energy system is my wheelhouse. You know, I am powerful, things that are relatively short in duration, and your wheelhouse is long aerobic as an Ironman triathlete.
Right.
And in our previous training to this, we would merge both of those things.
Right.
So some of the days, you know, it was my wheelhouse and I'm the powerhouse and you were keeping up with me. And some of the other time, like days that we were on the rower or the bike or a very, very challenging hike,
I felt like I was flying.
I was keeping up with you.
Right.
And what we have seen in the last 5.5 months is this training exists entirely in my wheelhouse.
Right. And it's not a competition between the two of us. You know,
Except when I make it one.
That's fair. But the thing is, I lose all the time. So she's going to win. She does not know. She has, we talked about this morning on a walk. She has an extra gas tank, an extra gear that she can tap into. But it doesn't necessarily exist in those long form aerobic things like that's where I have it. So Gillian's favorite competition, excuse me, and I apologize for the noise. Her favorite competition is the one that she gets to make up the rules and she can make sure that she wins, which is a lot of different things. But I know if I need that quick win, we'll just get on the rowing machine and hammer down, or the assault bike, or, you know, God forbid if we go jogging one time. But it has been an honor to be on this side of the supporting relationship, because she supported me in my career. She went to Vermont with me, which, you know, for those Vermonters who are out there, it's a beautiful state. But I took her from an area that she knew a lot of different people, and she had a very good professional life, and she went to a place where she didn't know anybody, and there really was no profession for her, and she had to carve one out for herself. So after 3 years of her supporting me entirely in my role, it's nice to finally give a little bit of the payback to you for, you know, supporting with this goal of yours.
And I think what has really made this experience different, clearly the calories, the duration of the prep, but what has really made this so different is the support at home and not being alone in my own head. So I
Right.
have gotten so much out of being able to share. We talk about this for hours of the day. We communicate in the morning while we're drinking coffee about the workouts. We talk about this all day long, and I'm not alone in this. So communicating both via Instagram,
Right.
YouTube, the accountability of some people that are following along and have been incredibly supportive, and of you, has made something that previous to me was the most solitary, lonely experience that one could have, was contest prep, something where I don't feel alone.
Right.
And that's why I feel so different this time.
And I overwhelmingly, the majority of the comments that are on her Instagram account and her Facebook page, overwhelmingly, the majority of comments have been very positive, very supportive, and very inspirational. There's a couple. I'm just gonna
let it go.
I'm just gonna let it go. You know who you are. But there's a couple that they cross a boundary. They cross the line of what is appropriate. So,
and I think there's an understanding of putting it out there, being somewhat thick-skinned.
right.
And I think I want to, before we wrap up, kind of manage what's to come here. So
Ooh.
I'm gonna
What's to come?
What's to come? So this will be the last YouTube video prior to the competition. I will probably not be putting much out during the competition itself. So for me, a level of focus involves not having my phone on me.
Right.
But there'll be plenty of people capturing something. We are going to do a wrap up after the competition, and we're going to continue with this series as well as starting other ones about what it's like to return back to quote unquote normal and what that looks like. So a client asked me, how am I going to deal with, giving up this body and not living in this body anymore? Because for me, I need to come back up to a healthy level of body fat to return to my level of mental creativity, productiveness, feeling good, sleep, proper hormones, which means that I'm not going to inhabit what I'm currently in.
Right.
And how do I deal with it? It's that I think of this body as being on borrowed time. So I don't see this as a body that I can live in. I see this as a body, again, that is a culminating moment. But to improve, I have to go back to a very, very healthy place. So this to me is not, hey, Jillian, you could walk around like this. It's very much like you are on borrowed time with it. You need to have extreme respect for what you put it through. There needs to be recovery on the other side, which means there's going to be some additional pounds on the
Right.
scale. There's going to be some more body fat. There will need to be recovery after 24 weeks of a relentless schedule of
Right.
activity. We've done the math, and we do 12 hours a week of exercise together, and I do another 5 to 7 hours a week between posing, mobility, gymnastic skills on my own. And that is not lifestyle activity. That is in-season training for a competition. So I do want to share, because as much as I'm accepting of those things and I look forward to all of those things, nobody wants to keep putting in the work and be like, well, I'm going to put on body fat now and that's what's going to happen.
Right.
So I'd like to share, how I go through that. If there are struggles that I have with that, obviously people are going to respond differently to me. But I want to continue this process to show kind of what that's all about.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. So I want to thank everybody. If you've made it 22 minutes into this, we really appreciate you sticking with us and on our 9th episode. But as always, please like and share this video with anybody you think might benefit from it. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get alerted for any new content that we have coming up, whether it's a different series, a different video, or just, Gillian doing stupid human tricks, which are always entertaining. So we want to thank you very much, and we will see you guys after the show.